and welcome back. Today we're making eggplant and potato Indian curry. Okay, so what I'm doing here is one of the main ingredients in the sauce is fenugreek seeds. I'm toasting the fenugreek seeds and I'm gonna place them in my grinder, and then I'm gonna grind them into a powder form so that it can be used for the sauce. So while I'm doing that, I'm just going to go over a few of the key ingredients that you'll need for the marinade, because that's what we're going to be working on first. So you will need at least 1.5 cups of unsweetened coconut milk, which is equivalent to 1 can, because you're going to eventually use the whole can in the sauce and in the marinade. And then 1.5 teaspoons of garlic minced, 1 tablespoon of ginger minced, 2 teaspoons of garam masala, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of dried cumin, 1 teaspoon of red chili powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. I will list these ingredients in the description as well. Now the good thing is with the fenugreek seeds is that we're only going to use like 1/4 teaspoon for the sauce, so the remainder can be stored in a glass jar, because I'll be making a lot of curry videos and you will use those. So I would recommend getting the seeds. You can also use the leaves if you can find them. And I found these fenugreek seeds at an Asian store. This is where you can find most of your spices, at Asian stores. And if you're in the Texas area, Fiesta grocery store also carry a lot of the items that will be needed. All right, so we're going to put that aside and we're going to get over here with the spices. So these are all the spices that we have for the marinade. We have the coconut milk, we have the minced garlic, we have the minced ginger, we have the garam masala, the turmeric, the ground cumin, the red chili powder, and salt. So what we're going to do is start with the coconut milk. We're going to add that first. And then to that, I'm going to go ahead and add the potatoes and just kind of mix them in as well as possible. It's not really needed to mix it a whole lot, because you will mix it once all the spices are added. But you can kind of move it around a little bit. And then from there, you want to go ahead and just start adding your spices. And I'll have it broken down, the spices needed for the marinade versus the spices needed for the sauce, which will make it a lot easier. And I find it easier to kind of set up all of my ingredients and measure them before preparing a meal, especially when I'm sharing with someone. It makes it a lot easier. So once we've added all of these ingredients, we're going to go ahead and kind of mix that together as much as we can, and then we're going to set it aside for 30 minutes. And while we're setting that aside, we can start getting everything else ready for the dish. Okay. All right. So this is where, and gloves are really well if you want to use your hands, or you can also use a wooden spoon. Today I'm using a wooden spoon to kind of mix all of the ingredients together in the bowl. And as you can see, as I move it around, every piece of eggplant and every piece of potato is receiving the same love. They're all getting some of that bold, warm. These ingredients are so warm and bold. It's so flavorful. You guys are gonna love this. So like I said, no veggie left out. So there we go. So we got that all marinated and all mixed together in the bowl. And again, don't leave anything out. Everybody get in. Okay. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and set this aside and set up the pan after 30 minutes. I'm using a cast iron coated Dutch oven with 2 tablespoons of olive oil to go ahead and sear these off. I'm gonna sear off the first batch of eggplant so that you can see what it looks like, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm going to after I'm done, I'm gonna go ahead and place these on a baking sheet with parchment paper and put them in a 350-degree oven for 20 minutes or so. And the reason I'm doing this is because all the flavor that's in this marinade is gonna help in building a flavorful sauce, make the sauce more flavorful. So once I sear these off, I'm gonna go ahead and place them in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes or so that they can soften a little bit. With eggplant, you don't want them to, if you cook them too much, then your dish will be mushy. But if you like really soft eggplant, then you can go ahead and leave them in the oven as long as you'd like. And it's also like a water vegetable, so it retains a lot of water. So I kind of like to just sear them off a little bit and just place them in the oven 15-20 minutes to aid in the softening process, because you're going to add them to the sauce, and then in the sauce you're going to cook it a little more, so you don't want to have them overcooked. And you can see what I'm doing here with my hands. You can smell the aroma. It smells so good. These spices are so warm and so cozy. Also, if you like, I'm not a spicy person to eat spicy foods, but you can add chili pepper to the sauce to give it that spice if you'd like, or you can use cayenne pepper. Either, if you're spicy, because it is a kind of spicy dish, but I'm not a spicy kind of person, so I try to stay away from spices. They don't agree with me. But yeah, so as you can see, I'm searing off, and you want that, like I said, that all that goodness is going to be in the bottom of the pan that you'll see later on as I start building the sauce for this dish. So while that's searing, I'm going to go ahead and go over the ingredients for the sauce. For the sauce, we need 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of ghee, but instead of using 2 tablespoons of ghee this time, I used 3 sticks of vegan butter. For the onions, we want 1 large onion sliced. We want 1.5 teaspoons of garlic minced. 2 tablespoons of minced ginger, 1.5 teaspoons of ground cumin, 1.5 teaspoons of ground garam masala. That's G-A-R-A-M masala. 1 teaspoon of ground coriander. 14 ounces of crushed tomatoes, and if you can find the organic crushed tomatoes, that would be awesome. And then to that, you're going to add 1 teaspoon of red chili powder, 1 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then 1 cup of the coconut milk. Also 1 tablespoon of sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of the fenugreek that we toasted and grinded early on in the beginning. So that's what I'm saying. I must have, I used like 1/2 cup to toast and grind so that there's some left over. And all these spices like cumin, coriander, and garam masala, those are things you might want to keep, because they're used in a lot of curry dishes, Indian curry dishes, African curry dishes. So you want to keep those. They're really flavorful, and it's something that adds a lot of spice and a lot of warmth, especially this time of year with all the squashes, because I'm going to be making a butternut squash soup and another stew with another squash. So right now it's a good time to play with these squashes and flavors, and they add such unique flavors. They have such unique flavors and textures that will give you a difference in taste and flavor. So you're not cooking boring meals and and so forth. So that's what we're going to be doing. So as you see, I'm removing these from the pan, and you can see some of the goodness from the marinade in the bottom of the pan, but you haven't seen anything yet until I finish searing off the pieces of eggplant and potatoes. So here we go. These are the last few. I'm going to add potatoes to this and let them sear up a little bit. Potatoes take a little longer to cook than the eggplant, of course. So sear those off good and put them away and let them, we'll put them in the oven on a sheet pan, which we can put them on together. If you don't have parchment paper, feel free to use foil on your sheet pan. I wouldn't just use it the way it is, because it'll make a mess on your pan that you would have to scrub for days to get off there. So here we go. I'm adding the potatoes, and once the potatoes are added, we're going to let them sear off on every side just to get a good sear on them, and then we're going to add those to the sheet pan along with the eggplant. So as you see, I'm still working with that half of tablespoon of olive oil to run to sear off the potatoes and eggplant. So here we go. Now we're all done. Here's the pan. That's all that goodness that we just seared off. So right now I'm going to go ahead and place these on the side and get them in the oven for 20 minutes. Set your timer for, I would set it for 15. I always say set it 5 minutes less than what's required. Okay, so to that I'm adding the 3 sticks of vegan butter, which is 3 pounds of butter, because this is a butter eggplant potato curry. So the butter is what makes the dish really, really creamy and really good. It just brings everything together. So we're gonna let that butter melt, and also make sure to use like a wooden spoon or a spatula, because you don't want to scrape the bottom of your pan. We're gonna just let the butter and all the other ingredients pull as much of that flavor from the bottom of the pan as possible. You see how I'm just lightly rubbing through it. Don't scrape it, and then you don't want to ruin your pan. So the bottom of your pan or your pot. Yeah, so we're gonna let that melt. Into that we're gonna add our onions. We're gonna be adding the onions to this to let them caramelize for a little bit, or just until they're fragrant, until you can really smell the flavor of the onions coming through your kitchen. And then we'll start adding all the other ingredients thereafter. But yeah, you see how I'm just kind of scraping it lightly, the pan lightly, to remove as much of the seasonings from the bottom of the pan. And it's gonna bring all these flavors together so well. I promise you, you're gonna love it. And with this sauce, I made my sauce a little thicker, but you can always add a little water, or you can add a little bit of coconut milk. Because what I did, I had a canned coconut milk, and I used maybe all of it but 2 tablespoons. So at the end you'll see I went on and added those to the sauce. But your sauce can be as thick as you want it or as light as you want it. All right, so there we go with the onions. We're just gonna let those get in there for a little bit by themselves, about 2 to 3 minutes, and get them soft, and the flavor can burst, so the flavor can burst out into the butter. And then to that we'll start adding our other spices. So I just kind of let it simmer for a little bit. When it comes to a good simmer, then I'll start adding all of the other ingredients. Constantly making sure to check back and give it a stir every now and then. I want you to see when the simmer starts on this, and that way you'll know it's time to start adding all of your other ingredients, which is your spices and your crushed tomatoes. And as far as the coconut milk and the fenugreek, we're going to add those at the end after we blend, because you're going to need a blender for this to blend all of the sauce together, and you're going to see the smooth texture and the color change from all of the ingredients, all of the spices. So yeah, be sure to constantly stir, and please watch this to the end so that you can see every step of this process. And yeah, see, lightly scrape, but not anything forceful. Let it go. If it's not coming off, let it go. And then once you blend it and return it to the pot to simmer with all of the potatoes and the eggplant, then you'll see most of the ingredients will come up. It will come up from the bottom of your pan. All right, so now it's simmering. So we're gonna go ahead and start adding some of the other ingredients here in just a minute. We're gonna start off with adding the crushed tomatoes, and we're gonna also to that add the garam masala, and we're gonna add, but first before we add any spices, we're gonna add garlic. I apologize. We're gonna add the minced garlic and the minced ginger to this. My apology. And we're gonna let those flavors marry together for a little bit. And that's your minced ginger. Once we get all those in there, we're just gonna let that simmer for a little bit as well. I wish you guys could smell this. If you make it, you're gonna smell it. It smells amazing. It tastes amazing. It's a real savory, robust dish that is warming, especially this time of year, especially if it's a little cold where you are. As you know, it's a great winter dish. The whole family would love it. And you know, vegetables, an eggplant, and you can use just about any vegetable with this that you like. Just be mindful of the texture of the vegetable and the cooking time for that vegetable. You can use all potatoes. I've made this with just potatoes. You can use extra firm tofu in this dish as well. And it all goes together. I just chose to use the eggplant this time because it was so beautiful. When I went to the grocery store, I had to have it. So here we go. We're adding the garam masala, and we're adding the cumin and the coriander right now, and the chili powder. Just want to get all those blended, and you can just imagine the warmth of this smell right now, the flavor that's going through my house, not just the kitchen right now. It smells amazing, and I always make sure I don't eat before I cook. So that way when I do eat something that's as good as this, I don't eat too much because I'm smelling it. When you're smelling food, I don't know if anyone else is like that. When you're smelling food as you're cooking, it kind of fills you. So, but the next day, yeah, very good. Very good. And with this as on the side, I bought a bag of organic naan bread. Okay, here we go. We're adding the crushed tomatoes, star of the dish, one of the stars of the dish. And what the sugar does with this dish is, you know, with sugar, with anything citrusy, it kind of gives balance with all these spices and flavors, these warm, hearty flavors. At the end, the little sugar is going to give that balance. Okay, here we go. We're going in with, we're going to blend this. We're going in with the chili powder and the sugar that I was just talking about. So we're going in with the sugar and the chili powder right now. And then the last thing that's on that plate is salt. We're going to use that when we add the remaining coconut milk to this. And I use canned coconut milk. And I tried to find the organic, unsweetened canned coconut milk. There is a heavy one. You can use the heavy one, or there's a regular one that you could use. But just make sure it's unsweetened. That's the key, unsweetened. So there you go. Keep a spatula handy because you want all those spices to be incorporated in this sauce. So this sauce, you just let it cook until it thickens. It's going to thicken on its own. So I do less manipulation with this sauce as possible. So while this is thickening, but I come back periodically to make sure to stir it. But I want you to see the whole process. I wish you could smell the whole process. So while that's happening, I'm checking on the eggplant and potatoes that are in the oven, which should be ready to come out in about another 3 minutes. I set my timer for 20 minutes. I checked in 15. So I'm going to give them the remaining 5 minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull them out of the oven. So here we go. Just stir and stir and stir and stir. Look at the goodness of that butter in there. That vegan butter looks so good. And it's a no-guilt meal because it's nothing fattening, especially the butter. And it's really healthy and hearty. And I believe your kids would love it as well. So give it a try. Give it a try. I also prepare traditional meals as well. So, because everyone in my family don't eat plant-based, so I have made this recipe before with chicken. Because my youngest son, he loves it. So it can be prepared with chicken. I usually use boneless, skinless chicken thighs and make his separate batch. But as I was saying earlier, I found an organic naan bread, Naan, N-A-A-N bread that's really, really good with this dish. All right, so after that sauce, see how it thickened and I let it cool. You got to let it cool down because now we're going to go ahead and add it to the blender. And this is where the magic happens with this. So we're going to add this to the blender, and then I'm going to run it on a puree setting. If you don't have puree, just use blend. Use whatever you have because it's going to work. And you see how red it is now? I want you to take note of this color and the color that it's going to be once I remove it from the blender. So yes, so still being careful not to scrape not only just my pot or to force scrape all of the rest of the ingredients on the bottom. But for this, I used a metal spoon. Actually, I use a scoop and a spoon. At the end of me removing the sauce from the pot to the blender, I had to use a flat spoon to kind of get those corners from the pot. Again, and this you're gonna notice with me, nothing gets left behind if I can help it. So you see there's still some of the spices at the bottom of the pot, which is good. It's okay, because once you blend the sauce and return it to the pot, it still has to cook a little more with the eggplant and potatoes. So that will definitely be removed. Okay, so here we go. Alrighty, so now we're going to go ahead and blend this sauce in the blender. And if you can see on the side, I have the salt, the fenugreek, and the coconut milk that's going to go in the sauce after we blend. So here we go. We're going to give this a blend. So I know you took note of that color, how red it was. Watch how beautiful it changes color from the spices, everything together. And the texture, I want you to really check out the texture after I'm done blending all of the spices. This is beautiful goodness. And again, you can use any vegetable that you'd like for this dish. It doesn't just have to be eggplant, but I would recommend trying the eggplant because it's a very thick and has a great texture, a good meaty texture. Another that has a good meaty texture for this dish is extra firm tofu. I love that in this dish as well. So feel free to try any one that you like. And again, if you're not wanting to have plant-based, or if your whole family doesn't eat plant-based, go ahead and cut up some chicken thighs, boneless skinless chicken thighs, and you're going to sear off and do the same thing, except with the chicken you don't have to put it in the oven. Once you sear it, you set it aside, and you can cook it the rest of the way in the sauce. All right, here we go. So here's the end result of the sauce. All right, I want you to notice the texture and the color. There we go. You see that? So beautiful. All blended, everything's together. So to that, I'm gonna go ahead and let you stir a little bit and let you see what it looks like. And then I'm gonna add the coconut milk and the fenugreek seeds, which were grinded, the powdered fenugreek, and the salt. So there's the fenugreek. So this is what makes the flavor. So you gotta go get this. Do not leave this out. The fenugreek has such a unique flavor. And it can be used, fenugreek, believe it or not, it can be used in baked goods. You can do so much with this spice. This is amazing spice. It really is. And I got the seeds. They're very hard. They're like rocks. And you can soak them overnight and then toast them in the pan before blending them or grinding them into a powder form. So that's the sauce. I'm gonna go ahead and bring that to a simmer. Alrighty, here we go. Alrighty, sorry for the pause. My microphone kind of fell and I couldn't hear anything. All right, here we go. So now we're adding the potatoes. And we're gonna let the potatoes simmer for a few minutes. Not a whole lot because they're just about soft and tender. So they don't need a whole lot. Maybe 5 minutes at best. We're gonna let that simmer for a little bit. But what I was saying before my microphone paused on its own, and I apologize for that, is that if there's any other dishes that you guys can think of, like warm dishes for the fall, let me know. But I'll be presenting videos once a week and some shorts here and there. But yes, if there's something in particular that you want to experience, just let me know and I'll be happy to accommodate. All right, while that's simmering, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up a little bit and let that come to a simmer. Try to keep your temperature at all times between medium and medium low, because you don't want everything to rush and you don't want everything to burn, because if we're cooking this with the top off, and anytime you cook with the top off, any type of sauce, gravies, or anything, they'll thicken really fast if the top is off. So we're cooking this with the top off, and you want to monitor it a whole lot because these are a lot of rich ingredients. And the key thing that I learned is to kind of stir it as much as possible when you're preparing dishes such as these with sauces. Yes. So here we go. And I'm practicing not hitting the side of my pot with my spoon. So I'm shaking the spoon because that's a bad habit that I have. I think I got that from my mother. All right. So that's the seared and roasted eggplant that we'll be adding here shortly. And then I'm going to plate it up and let you see what it looks like. I wish you could taste it, but you will, if you make this, you will have a chance to taste it. There we go. We got this to a simmer. Now we're seeing some smoke. There we go. Slow and steady is what you want. You're never in a rush. And don't beat your pans and pots. They didn't do you anything. Don't ever be in a rush to cook anything. You know, it's passion and it's something you're going to enjoy and your family's going to enjoy as well. And this is another dish that makes an amazing lunch. You see, I added that. It was just 2 tablespoons of coconut milk left over, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I added it to the sauce. But this is an excellent meal for lunch. And another thing, believe it or not, it freezes really well. This freezes really, really well, but I doubt if you'll have any left over to freeze. And I encourage you to make this and share it. Share it with your family. Share it with your friends, your coworkers. It is so good. It's so delicious. I love it. It's the best thing that I've learned to make. It took me a lot of trial and error making this dish because I tried to do it, you know, without patience, without thinking, oh, I can put this, or just going with my flavor buzz, oh, it's this much of that. So I finally stopped that and sat down and made it one day and kind of figured out the ingredients and the measurements that's needed and not going just by taste and flavor. Some things I can do that and it worked, but stuff like this, complicated curries, no, it's not a good idea. All right, so that's come to a simmer now. So what we're going to do is go ahead and get ready to add the eggplant and plate this dish up so that you can see the final results. But while I'm waiting, I'm going to go ahead and drop my naan bread in the oven. I already have the oven preheated at 350 from the potatoes and the eggplant. So I'm going to get those nice and warmed up because there's nothing like a nice warm piece of naan bread next to this dish. You are going to love it. And like I said, I was able to find an organic pack of naan bread, but I've always eaten just regular naan bread. It doesn't have to be organic. You know, I just lucked up this time and found a pack of organic, not organic, plant-based naan bread. Now, I eat naan bread, you know, other ways as well, because I didn't know that there was a plant-based naan bread until I just accidentally ran into it at the grocery store. So I couldn't taste a difference, but I do see a difference in the ingredients. But I will try to find it in the future. But if not, I'll be eating naan bread because I love naan bread. It is so, so delicious. And you're going to love it as well. All right, there we go. We got a good simmer. I'm cleaning up as I go so I can sit down and eat and enjoy once this is done. All right, yep, you're ready. Nice and soft and whole. So now I'm going to turn that down, and here we go. Eggplant is in. They're simmering together. And this is the outcome. A nice pot of hearty Indian eggplant and potato curry. It's very delicious, very flavorful. And I hope you enjoy this video. Here's the end results. Look how good and savory that is. Oh, and the rice I use Basmati rice. I love Basmati rice. And sprinkle some cilantro on top. So, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm so glad you stayed to the end. And make sure to press your notification button so that you'll know when I'm posting another video. I appreciate your time. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Goodbye. Thank you.